It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out of my mind. It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. I'm putting you out, trash day, I'm putting you out of my mind. Now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up the house. I'm taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage.
It starts with some beer, so you shouldn't have fear. Two garbage guys with facts, but they both still have tact. It's that time at last for the best damn podcast. It's Can Crusher Day!
And welcome back. Mark Martinez bringing you another Can Crusher Spotlight. In this interview, a couple months in the making as we were just trying to iron out when we could meet up, but it has now become one of my favorites. Guys, I can't wait to tell you that I got to sit down and talk to Beef Stew Lou Marconi. Yes, followed him in his career at Steel City Wrestling. He made it to the WWF. He was an IWC NWA National Champion. This is unbelievable, and it all ties together with somebody else that I'm probably pretty good friends with right now, Jax Dane. The stories during this interview are amazing. We find out a lot. We find out that Beef Stew Lou has his name on the lawsuit against the WWE right now. We find out why Beef Stew Lou kind of got beat up real quick against Jax Dane. These are great stories, and another episode is going to be in the making with Lou Marconi. So no other reason to delay. Let's get it over to Collar and Elbow so you can hear from Al Snow talk about the great products. And when you check out, use the promo code CANCRUSHERS. Capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. You get 10% off. And as we always said, it does kick back to us and help us out a little bit more as it helps me buy another shirt or it helps us buy some beer during the weekly podcast. That's what it does. This is how Can Crushers works. You buy a shirt, you're helping us out, and we're helping you out by giving you 10% off thanks to Al Snow. But I'm done rambling. Al Snow, followed by Lou Marconi.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
And welcome back to Can Crushers. Guys, I'm so elated to have this guy on the show. He's been in WWF. He's been in ECW. He's been in IWC, Steel City. He's only a couple years older than me, and I followed him in Steel City. Beef Stew Marconi, how are you?
I'm great, man. Thank you. Thanks for the intro.
You are all, like I said, you're only a couple years older than us. You wrestled in St. Mary's, Pennsylvania, first of all. Do you remember anything about St. Mary's, Pennsylvania?
I remember, if it's a show I'm thinking of, I remember we showed up there, it was raining, and when we left, there was 6 inches of snow within a couple hours. Is that right?
That's exactly right. You won.
We won the tag titles, right?
Yeah, against Stevie Richards.
Yes, and Blue Meanie. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we didn't have a snow brush for the car because it was a rental car. So we went inside and we got like a push broom the janitor's push broom to brush some snow off the car. That's what we had to do. Frank and I did, and we just basically we started driving and we turned around and came back. We were gonna go try to make it home, but the roads were so bad. We turned around and we there was a hotel room waiting for us. Norm took care of us. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was like Snowpocalypse 1994. It was the most snow we got that winter.
That was a bad winter. I remember that because a lot of shows were canceling and moved. I remember it was a tough winter. But yeah, because I think I had 2 matches that night. I think I wrestled Tarantula too right after that tag match.
You did. Have it written down. Yes, you did. That was the first time we got to see you, and I'm like, man, this is amazing. And then we stumble upon each other on Facebook as well, which it's a weird world, right?
Yeah. Facebook's got me in touch with a lot of people I haven't seen in a long time. Like Stevie Richards is doing great. I mean, he's doing a lot of the DDP yoga stuff and keeping people fit. And I know Brian, Blue Meanie, good friend. He's doing great. He's been fantastic. And Frank doesn't go on Facebook. I talk to Frank regularly still. He was the best man at my wedding when I got married 6 years ago. That's it. We've been close. Frank and I have always been close. And trying to think, it's just being able to keep in touch with people. So it's really good about that, especially like Zoltan. Seeing him and just go through the beat. Just going through, just looking through everything, and it's just wow. I mean, it's hard to believe that was God, that was 25 years ago.
I know.
I was in my early 20s. Yeah, I was barely old enough to drink.
Right? And we both looked great then too.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I did. I don't know.
I don't. All right, so let's rewind all the way to the beginning. How did you get to love this business? Was it a dad, a grandpa, even an aunt? Who showed you wrestling from the start?
My great grandfather, Pappy. He was known as Pappy. My mother's grandfather, and he's long dead. He's been, he went to his grave believing wrestling was real. He called it wrestling because my mother's side of the family is from Western Tennessee, and my father's side of the family is from Italy. So the Louis Angelo Marconi is my full name. So I got the Italian name, but I'm not 100% Italian. And so I used to sit and watch wrestling with him. And I remember the first feud that I could remember was Buzz Sawyer and Tommy Rich with Gordon Soley in the studio. Yeah, that was
that's a great one.
That hooked me. And then there's Hacksaw Butch Reed, and back in the days when it was the guys in Georgia, Arn Anderson. I mean, it was the Southern wrestling, and then I remember when WWF made it big and it got real popular, and everybody was talking about. I was about middle school age at that time. That was when the first WrestleMania was, and then it's like, wow, did you see Piper's Pit yesterday? Or people at school the next day after it aired on Sunday morning were talking about what they saw on WWF wrestling and just superstars. It was a syndicated show, and I'll never forget this. And was Quick Draw Rick McGraw was on TV wrestling Piper, and Piper squashed him, just destroyed him because they did an angle at Piper's Pit, and Piper just destroyed him. And then the next day you heard that Rick McGraw's dead, and we're going, we thought Piper killed him. I mean, honestly, we did. We were like but that was probably filmed weeks before, So,
oh yeah. Back then,
so we didn't know. This was Allentown taping. It was back then. It was so it was just interesting. And but yeah, I remember going to the second WrestleMania closed circuit. It was at the Richfield Coliseum, the big screen, and Hulk Hogan, King Kong Bundy main event cage match. It was just those, and WrestleMania 3. I remember just catching every WrestleMania somehow at somebody's house after that. I just, I was always a big fan, and I grew up a fan. And then just to go from there. Did you need more, or did you want me to keep going?
You can keep going. And I was going to say your favorites, or how did you get into the business? How you're reading my notes.
Yeah, I'm not reading your notes. I'm all the way in Ohio here. Okay. My favorite, believe it or not, I love Magnum TA. I almost got a chance to meet him at a Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Fan Fest, and I just missed him. But Magnum TA was my favorite when I was a kid. Terry Allen, he was my favorite. Go ahead.
You need to make it to a Crockett Cup then next year, because Magnum's going to be in and around those. I've met him a few times now. He was my mother's favorite. He is a humble human being. He is amazing.
I went to a NWA show where the main event for the NWA World Title was Magnum TA against Ric Flair, and Ric Flair was disqualified for throwing him over the top rope after they went like 25 minutes in an amazing match, you know. So, and I was about 85. It was 1985, I think that was. It was right before. This was right when they did that angle with Dusty Rhodes and his ankle.
Okay.
It was around that time because Dusty was in his corner. He was selling his ankle. He had a cane and everything. Because I remember just thinking about who was on that show. I mean, the opening match was Barry Darsow as Crusher Khrushchev against Pistol Pez Watley. So I mean, you're thinking about how the shows were done back then and how it worked out. And I'm trying to think. But I was always a fan. Magnum was my favorite. Loved the Road Warriors as a tag team. All of us did. All the guys in high school that I went to high school with loved the Road Warriors. As I got older and I started really appreciating the business after Magnum got hurt when he had to regret this, he got into his car accident. I would say, your Ric Flair, Bret Hart, Kurt Hennig. I loved Mr. Perfect because I had my brother. This is a strange thing that I tell people, and they don't understand this. Because I had an older brother and a younger sister. I was the middle child. My brother didn't like pro wrestling, but he was an excellent amateur wrestler. He won states.
Oh, wow.
Okay? He won states. He placed third in the junior nationals, and he wrestled in college. I could have been just as good, or maybe even – he even told me this, too, recently. Because, he was 4 years older than me, okay? And the reason why we had such a big age difference was because when my parents got married, my mom got pregnant with my brother, my dad got drafted. He went into the Army and came back, and then I came along. So that's why we had that big age difference. So we didn't get along as much growing up because we had the disparity. When you have an age difference like that, there's different levels of maturity. You just don't understand each other. But he was the athlete of the family, and I wasn't. He was 10 times the athlete I was. He could have with professional wrestling. I told him this recently. I said, hey, you could have made money if you wanted to. But he was so competitive when it came time to do business, put somebody over, he wouldn't do it. I know he wouldn't do it.
Oh, wow.
To him, it would be, no, we're out there, we're wrestling, let's shoot. That's his mentality. I'm not saying anything. That's not a knock on him. That's just how he is. But this is the coolest thing. I'm going to fast forward to 1999, 98, 99, when I'm in WWF, and I was talking to Kurt Angle, and I introduced myself. He said, Marconi, Dennis Marconi? I said, yeah, that's my brother. He goes, oh, yeah, he wrestled at Cleveland State when I was in Clarion. Yeah, we knew about him. I mean, yeah, my brother was at Cleveland State, and Kurt Angle was at Clarion at the time. So that kind of gives you an idea how much respect he had.
Holy hell.
Kurt Angle knew who my brother was. So he goes, and that was just when Kurt Angle was just coming in. And we saw him working out. I mean, Tracy Smothers helped train him. He had it. We knew it. I mean, I was like, this guy's going to be unbelievable. I knew it when I saw it because when you have that natural instinct, you can just do it. But okay, going back to I had a favorite tag team, the Road Warriors. I kind of told you as I got older, I started respecting the business more and really liking wrestling ability. I even liked Arn Anderson too. Loved Arn Anderson. And the thing that people don't understand about Arn Anderson, watch the way he sells. We'll pull up any of his old matches. Watch how he sold for Dusty Rhodes. Just watch. It was unreal. He was so good at that. And the ring psychology. You don't see that today. You don't see people selling anymore. Don't get me started. Don't get me started because you know what they're worried about? They're not worried about letting people take in and understand the move that just happened. They're worried about going to their next spot. They don't want to forget what they're supposed to know. Does that make sense?
There's so much. My head just exploded. First of all, Arn Anderson is one of my favorite wrestlers because he doesn't need to yell, scream, do anything on the mic. Just him talking gets his point across, and you're right. Him selling both good and bad, taking the beating or whatever, he's on top of everything. But the main thing that I want to get to before we get to the rest of these questions is you said the same exact thing as our last two previous interviews. B. Brian Blair and Jumpin' Jim Brunzell both said there's too many false finishers. There's too many, nobody sells. They're all trying to make each other look good. There's too many pauses in a match. It's not wrestling anymore, Lou. It's not, right?
No, that it's not. And actually, I saw Brian Blair. I haven't talked to Jim, but Brian and I talked at Cauliflower Alley Club That was the last time I went, was when my wife was pregnant with my oldest. And he actually prayed. He prayed on my wife's pregnant belly. It was hilarious.
Nice.
I said, "You're blessed by B. Brian Blair." She said, "Okay."
I would love to be blessed by B. Brian Blair.
Well, because have you ever been to Cauliflower Alley Club in Vegas?
We haven't, but it's something I'm actually looking into next year. Is we just found out about the whole Cauliflower Alley Club from Brian, and it's we completely support it 100% now.
Yeah.
I have a membership. We're putting Can Crushers in as a membership. I'm making all the other guys as part of Can Crushers be members. I mean, it supports you guys for us, and it's amazing.
Yeah, so what he does, when you're there, it's like an all event. They have seminars, they have shows, they have banquets. And the one time it was the breakfast, we were there. There's like a TGI Fridays that's in the casino, the Gold Coast. And we're sitting there eating breakfast. And next to us at a different table, next to us, right next to us, is Terry Funk and his wife. And I said, "Terry, how you doing?" He's like, "Hey, how are you, Lou? It's good to see you." and then I said, "This is my wife, Christine." He goes, "Hi, Christine." He was real nice about it. He goes, "You know what? Today it looks like Circus du Soleil, not wrestling." That's what he said.
Yeah.
It looks like Circus du Soleil, not wrestling. So it's just, it's a lot of the old timers are saying that now. So just to make a point, we have Cauliflower Alley Club. But if you want to get back to my story, okay, I was, let me see, around the age of 17, because I was always a heavier kid and a chubbier kid that kind of struggled. But I was a decent athlete. Okay. I was pretty, I wasn't great at anything. I played football, I played baseball, but I was always like, kind of, and I got into this rec center, local rec center, through a friend through high school. And I said, "Hey, this guy teaches boxing. You want to come up and learn?" And this old man taught me how to box, and he taught me how to train, and he taught me how to get the weight off me. So I did 2 years amateur boxing until the time I was 19. And I was at a gym, and I ran into Ron Cumberledge. I don't know if you know who he was or not. He was another wrestler. I knew he was a bodybuilder and a wrestler. So I asked him, I said, "Hey, how do you get into this?" He goes, "Here." He gave me a number. He said, "Call Charlie Fulton.
Wow.
Tell him I sent you." He goes, "Tell him I sent you." I was like, "Okay." So I called Charlie. I said, "Ron sent me." He goes, and so Charlie gave me this spiel. He said, "Okay, you get a free tryout. You're guaranteed your first match. It's $1,700 to get trained, and that's it. You don't owe me anything after that. You're responsible for your own gear. You got to get boots. You got to get knee pads. You got to get trunks or whatever you want to wear, but you have to have true wrestling gear, and we'll work on you on that, but we're going to train you. We're going to show you the right way." So I was like, okay, so I always wanted to do this. So I kind of went and I tried out, and I was nervous as hell. This was like February of '93, and I was really, really nervous because here I am ready to try something, which is like an all-time dream to do this. And here's a guy that could look at me and say, "Don't even bother." You know what I mean? You're going to be told that you can't do it. I was like, "Oh, you forget it." So after I did it and I showed him, I had a pretty good, decent wrestling background with my brother, and I had a pretty decent athletic background. But he's like, "Okay, he can work with me." So he pulled me aside and goes, "Okay, we got to figure out how you're going to come up with the money. You're going to do this. I'll work with you." So I kind of pulled my money together. I took on a part-time job. I was making pizzas at a pizza shop. I took on another job for the wrestling school, and I did it and save up money for gear. And I had my old boxing boots. I used as wrestling gear for the longest time until I actually got boots. And it took me about 5 years to do that. But he got me in, so he trained me. Now the smart thing I did though was I called a couple other promotions. I looked them up and I called. This was before you had internet. This was before you had Google. This was before you had any of that stuff. This was 1993. Okay, you picked up the phone and you called. So I called Great Lakes Wrestling Promotion. I called a promotion in Columbus, and I called a promotion in Cincinnati. And there was 2 other schools I was looking at in Charlie's. So I asked them, what would you do I'm young, I'm trying to get into the business, where should I go? All 3 of them overwhelmingly said, "Go to Charlie Fulton." I never heard of those other 2 guys. Go to Charlie Fulton. And Charlie worked for the WWF.
Right.
And he had trust. So I mean, okay, if I want to get there, I want to be trained by somebody that was there. You know what I mean? That understood it, that got it. Worked in arenas for 20 years, because he had a heart condition. That's why his career was cut short. He had a heart condition. So so I went with Charlie. I pulled my money together, came up with a payment plan, and that was it. Once I was done with my 1,700, I was welcome to come to the gym. I was helping to work out with guys. I started training, And I started training in April of 93. You want to know how fast? Within 2 months, in June of 93, I had my first match.
I was going to say, I knew that. I did some background on you, Lou. Come on.
Yeah, it was for Cleveland All Pro Wrestling. And all it was I did a battle royale on my birthday, on my 20th birthday. I did a battle royale for an ASWA show, and I ran into a guy that was there that runs shows in Cleveland. So I called him. I said, hey, I just trying to see if I can get in a battle royal and get in front of people. He goes, hey, you want a match? You want to wrestle tomorrow night? I'm like, he goes, there's no pay, but you can come and do it. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll do it. So, of course, there was no pay, but I did it. And Charlie basically read me the riot act for not getting paid.
How many matches did you do without getting paid, though? Because I'm sure you had to do a couple more, though, right, get your name in the door?
There was a couple, at least maybe about 3 or 4. I wasn't really making anything until about a year into the business. I really started making money and doing something with it. I don't know how to put it, but but Charlie really pulled me aside and talked to me about it and made sure that that I understood. I think he was more worried that I was going to some promotion and working. Like, hey, you know who you're working for? Do you know who you're working with? You're going to get hurt. You know what I mean? What were you doing? What were you thinking? But I just went off and got a match. And it was just like, to have a match, that's unheard of today, to work in front of people within 2 months.
Yeah, it is. It's unheard of, knowing the Al Snow Wrestling Academy and what they do down there in Louisville, and knowing the IWC Steel City Academy. You might not get a headlock for the first 2 months.
No, you might. Well, the thing was, when Charlie was showing me stuff, and it was like, okay, I've been watching wrestling my whole life. 2 + 2 = 4. I can get this. Once he started showing it to me, I was picking it up. Okay, this is how this works. This is how this works. And the ring psychology was coming to me a little bit, but the truth of it, you don't really get that down. It comes to you when you got to work in front of people and really come into your own. And that's really the advice I'd give anybody. But by 1994, because I remember my first year, I didn't think anybody at Charlie's school liked me. Because it was like, it wasn't like I was being teased or made fun of. I was ribbed here and there, but it was just kind of like, you're not in. Don't think you're part of us. You're not. And once I had that first WWF match, everything changed.
I was just going to say, Charlie opened the door for you to get into the WWF, and we can talk about these individually, but our list of people, the Head Shrinkers, Mark Marrow, the Smoking Gun, some guy called Stone Cold Steve Austin, Brian Pillman, Bam Bam.
Andrew Test Martin.
Test. ECW, you have Balls Mahoney, Axel Rotten, Cactus Jack. On the indie circuit, you had Shima Ion, DJ Z, or Joaquin Wilde now, and another good friend as, much later in your career, Jax Dane. You lost your... So that's that's not everybody, but that's just names that people are going to pop up and say, holy shit, this Beef Stew guy was all over the place.
All right, let's start with the Beef Stew thing, because I usually just go by Lou now. That I dropped it after a while. That was a high school nickname that followed me into wrestling. That's what it was. That's all it was. People kind of asked me all these questions about it, and I said, that's all it was. And I'll never forget, because, as I started wrestling, and, the door opened up for me with the first WWF match when it came to, because I had Bob Holly, okay?
Okay.
And Bob Holly is a great guy. He was green at the time, and I don't even think he remembers this. But I kind of saw that I had him, and I said something to Chris Hamrick. Chris Hamrick was there, and this is when we first met. And Chris Hamrick's just, man, he'll whip you off the ropes. He won't say anything. Watch these knee drops. He's stiff. God, just be careful when you're out there. So I'm thinking, if I wouldn't have known that, if he wouldn't have said that to me, I wouldn't have been mentally prepared. Because here I am in a 22 by 22 ring, the biggest ring I've ever worked in. You can get lost in that ring, okay? And he whips me off the ropes and doesn't say anything. And then I saw him set up for an elbow, so I took the elbow. And then he whips me off the ropes like, and I said, drop kick me. So boom, we're going. Then I started calling stuff out there. And I guess what happened, we did it, and I told him when to take it home. I went through the match. I called it because with Charlie, when you trained, you did drills, and then he pairs off guys, and he has you get in the ring and just work and call matches. He doesn't have you work anything out. You just get in the ring and work. The ring was stiff as a board. I mean, not stiff as a board. It was stiff as concrete. It was a hard as hell ring, and the rope sagged. He wanted you to get in the ring. He wanted you to work, and he wanted you to wrestle. His way of weeding people out and getting them to quit was bumping in his ring. He goes, if you can bump in this ring and you can have a match in this ring, you can have a match anywhere. And that was his philosophy. So I'm in the WWF ring. I had to think on my feet, and sometimes crisis and opportunity happen. You know what I mean? Crisis, the same word as opportunity. It's like most guys would have completely, shit their pants having that happen. This is the first time here. This is what I'm going to do. But we called it. Match got off. Everything was good. I got in the locker room. I didn't say a word. I didn't say anything until we got into the car. And I was like, motherfucker, I had to call him. I was so mad. But because you don't say shit. You don't do anything. You just shut up and do your job when you're there. You got your pay. You got your food. Be quiet. Okay? And you got to meet some people and you got to hang out. Cool. All right, fine. So I did that. And then I remember, I think the referee went to Gurria or one of the road agents and said the kid called the match. And I guess somebody called Charlie and told him about it. And I guess the word got around the school that was my in. That was it. I earned it. You know, you had to earn your way in. You weren't just going to walk in and be one of the boys. You had to earn your way in. And they thought I had an opportunity where I could have made them all look bad and could have screwed everything up for everybody that Charlie sends. When I did the opposite. I made them look good. And Charlie told me about it. And he said, okay, now you know what to do. He's like, you're humble. He goes, don't let this get to your head. You did great. And that to me is like, they know you. And they said, I think I was still a little bit puffy back then, a little bit pudgy back then. They said, you just need to get more experience. Well, the bit more experience came earlier that year. I think it was in March of '94, because I knew Zoltan from a couple of shows here and there. There was a show in Akron, Ohio, happening on a Saturday. It was a Saturday morning. I was about ready to go down and train with Charlie Fulton's gym and Kid Collins' gym, because they were merging at the time, work out with each other. So I was like getting ready. I was eating breakfast or something. And I got a call from Zoltan. I guess Gino Rocco couldn't make it. I don't know if you know who he was or not.
Yes.
He kind of disappeared. He couldn't make it to the show. And Zoltan called me and said, hey, you want to work tonight? I said, sure. And this is the first time I met T. Rangela, and I worked him. And the first time I met Norm Connors. Norm was about ready to start Steel City Wrestling. And Norm and I, met, and Norm managed T, and they were like, Beef Stew, that's a stupid fucking name. It was like, who's this dipshit? Who's this guy? And it was funny, but as the match went on, because I bumped and I sold for T, he loved me. I won him over. They were kind of pricks to me, but it was weird because being treated like shit, I understood, hey, I got to earn it. You don't just walk into a locker room and you're one of the boys. You got to earn it. You don't act like you own the place. You come in, you're humble, you understand it. So after that show, I went and did Def Wrestle Fest in '94, and I wrestled T again because they said we did so well. Zoltan wanted that match there, and then Mark Bodie was there, but he passed away shortly after that in a car accident. But I started getting more matches after that, and then Norm started running his promotion in Pittsburgh, and I was going to be his top babyface. So I had a great babyface look at the time. The Beef Stew thing was going on for a while, and then I remember he did some sort of co-promoting with Jim Miller at PWX, with Steel City doing an invasion angle with PWX. Do you remember that?
I do. I remember some of it, yes.
Yeah, where they were going to turn me, Norm wanted to turn me heel, and we did it very subtly. And let me go back to late '95, okay? Stop right there, PWX, '96, okay? Late '95, I told you I got to go to an ECW arena show. Raven was still there because I knew Scotty. Scotty was trained by Charlie Fulton too.
Right.
I don't know if you ever talked to Scotty Levy.
We haven't yet.
Him and I got along great. I knew Meanie when he was Brian Rollins, and he was trained by Al Snow. And all I remember about Meanie was just how impressed I was with this guy this size, being as athletic as he was. It blew my mind. I was like, wow. This guy, so he was really, and he had a passion for the business. He really has a passion for wrestling. So we did this. So here I am. I met ECW. I met Heyman. I met Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer was trained by Johnny Rods, who was Charlie Fulton's brother-in-law. And I met Dreamer, so I kept calling Dreamer. I kept trying to send them tapes and, you know, see if I can get work for them, because you got to remember, for about a year and a half, 2 years at that time, I'm being told by everybody in Western Pennsylvania and Ohio that I wrestled for and I wrestled with and I worked for, that you're going to make it. You're going to work for Vince. You're going to be a star. You got it. You're going to be awesome. You just need to go and get somewhere. You just need to go to the next level now. So I thought next level is ECW. You go there for a while, then Vince hire me. That was my mindset. Okay. I sent tapes to Tommy Dreamer. He watched the tape. He had Perry Saturn and Taz watch the tape, and all three of them said the same thing. The kid's green. He's not ready. And Tommy Dreamer told me that.
Wow.
I'm not done yet. Tommy told me this. He says, you need to go somewhere and you need to get wrestle in front of people. That's what you need to do. And this was before PWX. Okay. I was trying to think like, he goes, I suggest go down to Memphis. They don't pay shit, but you're going to get experience. And I'm sitting there thinking like, well, okay, I'm going to school. I could quit my job, pay off my car. Maybe I have family in Western Tennessee. Maybe I can make it work somehow. Maybe I get a job down there and work from Memphis when I can or something. I was trying to figure it out, and I didn't do it because I didn't want to leave school. But I found a place to work regularly. The other thing that Tommy Dreamer told me, and I used to give this advice to any young wrestler, that I was shocked. He goes, you're too ordinary. He goes, I got tapes, stacks of tapes for the guys that send me stuff all the time that wrestle like you, that look like you, just as good as you, wrestle just like you, but they don't stand out. You need to stand out. You need to figure out a way to make yourself stand out. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, think about it this way. If you're at a promotion and everybody's wrestling, you brawl. Everybody's talking, you yell or don't talk. If everybody's doing the same thing, don't do what they do.
Right.
Do what's different. Make yourself stand out, because you're doing what everybody sends me in tapes with. He must have saw some potential in me to say this, but it felt like a kick to the balls. I mean, believe it or not, it was devastating to me. I was like, I didn't want to cry, but you know what I mean? I'm like, what the fuck? I never heard that. I never was told that. He said, you come here, you come to the ECW arena, this crowd will eat you alive. They will. And you wouldn't want to put your boots back on again after that. And he said that to me. Yeah.
And that's the truth about the ECW arena. They would, no disrespect to you or anything, they would have eaten you up, I think. They would eat up the fans. They really did.
Yeah. So the thing too about the ECW arena, but I did work in the ECW arena eventually.
Right.
But I wasn't ready then. So when I was thinking about that, making myself stand out, okay, how do I do this? Because when I went from turning babyface to heel for Norm, I came out, I used to shake hands, walk around the ring, shake hands, get into the ring. And then I started going, well, you know what? If you watch the old timers, they go straight in and straight out. Okay. Everybody my first show at PWX was in August of 96. I'll never forget this. Everybody got on the mic and talked after their match. Everybody. And I'm sitting there, by the time Frank and I were supposed to go out there, we actually had a promo to do, because Norm was here, and we're supposed to say, hey, we have nothing to do with Norm. We're here representing Steel City Wrestling as a show of its goodwill, because Frank and I were baby faces. We were supposed to do that work and wrestle Paul Atlas and Black Cat. And instead, I just did what instinctively I wanted to do. And this is probably the most famous line. Did you ever talk to Corey Graves?
No. Well,
he was Sterling James Keenan.
Right.
Remember? Okay.
Right.
Okay. He told me this because he used to go to those shows when he was a kid. I felt old, but he was there when I said this. They gave me the mic, and all I did was I looked at the mic, I looked around the car, and I said, I don't need a microphone to get over, and I gave it back to him. And I guess Norm put his hands in his face going, oh shit, why did he say that? You know what I mean? Because I pretty much shit on everybody that talked on the mic.
Right.
I did because it meant nothing by the time I got it. And it's just so I made myself stand out by not talking.
Wow.
I didn't. But if you watch what I did, brother, I walked straight to the ring and straight back. And I had this serious look on my face. And I wrestled. And I met my wrestling get me over. I got over. They were starting to cheer me. Just as I thought they had them as cheer me, I won the North American title. And I had the purple singlet on under the red. And I took the red singlet off and had the purple one on and said, you know who this is for? I'll see you next week. Boom, or something like that. And that's it. Because I actually cut a promo when I won the title. The first time I won that was my first singles title.
Right.
I always won tag belts. That was my first singles title I won. So I made sure, because when I talked, it meant something. See, that's what it was. So that's how I made myself stand out there. I wasn't talking.
How many people do you think should do that nowadays?
All of them.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, yeah. Think about this. In 1996, Steve Austin shaves his head, calls himself Stone Cold, says, Austin 316, I just whooped your ass. That stuff wasn't done back then.
No.
Flipping the bird, walking down there, just looking all serious, tough, badass, black boots, black knee pads, black trunks, go out there. Because he was stunning. Steve Austin was an excellent wrestler. But he made himself stand out. He got over that way. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson made himself stand out. Those were the two biggest stars of the 90s, arguably.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, I remember when Dwayne Johnson was Flex Cabana, and he was first starting out there. And they tried Rocky Maivia, and I remember the crowds chanting, Rocky sucks.
Die, Rocky, die.
Die, Rocky, die. They hated him. And I remember, the road agents were looking at each other like, what did we do wrong? This guy's got everything. He had the look. He had the charisma. He had it all. He was a third-generation guy. He grew up around the business, so he knew. So it's interesting. It's interesting to think about it. So that's the advice I'd give to anybody is, don't do what you see on Raw. Don't do what you see on AEW. Make it yourself. Be yourself and make yourself be unique and stand out. That's the thing to do.
Right.
So,
you can take pieces, but, change them. I agree. I completely agree. Mm-hmm. So let's bounce back into some other people that you got to wrestle with.
Sure.
Let's talk about the Golden Dome in Monaca at the ECW arena there. That's where I've seen you a couple times. I mean, that was
okay.
That was our ECW on the Pittsburgh side of Pennsylvania.
That was my first show. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I think the funny part about that, I got to wrestle Bam Bam because Bam Bam was trained by Charlie too at the New Jersey Monster Factory. Scott was cool with me. He took care of me. I'm trying to remember the quality of the match. I think it was fine. I mean, I don't remember hearing anything when I was done because I stayed there for a little while. What question did you have?
No,
I started rambling.
No real question, just anything about it. Theoretically, I don't remember it, verbatim or anything. I am not the historian of the podcast. I'm the words. That's it.
Okay. Well, okay. Obviously I put Bam Bam over. What happened, I showed up because I had a weekend. I was working a lot in Pittsburgh. I think earlier that week, I was at the Igloo and I worked Pillman.
Yep.
I think.
Exactly.
I worked Pillman that week, and then all of a sudden I'm working Bam Bam. What happened was I came to the show, had my gear and my stuff in the trunk. I didn't even take it with me. I went, met with Meanie outside. Brian said, "Yeah, I'll introduce you to Paul." So I came in, I met Paul. I said, "How you doing, Beef Stew Lou?" And he looked at me and he was like, "I've seen you work before." That's what he said to me, the way Paul Heyman would do it. He goes, "Did you bring your stuff?" I said, "Yeah, I always bring your gear to a show. It's in my car." He goes, "Go get it. I want to see you work out. We're going to get a workout together. I want to see you work out." Okay. Yes, sir. I introduced myself to everybody, went and got my stuff, and then Meanie just said, "Just go out there and do what you do. You'll be fine." So what they did was Tracy Smothers ran workouts. I don't know if you knew that. You probably heard. I don't know if
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, he ran the workouts, and I'm in there with Little Guido. I'm in there with Smothers. I'm in there with Perry Saturn. I'm just working out, just trading holes, just doing all this stuff, and Paul's just watching me. And he starts whispering to people next to him. He's watching me. He starts whispering to people next to him, and then he started. And then I got in there with Ravishing Rick Rude. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
Rick Rude did a couple of things with me there. And he was real cool with me. Rick Rude. So I'm sitting there. I'm in the ring with Rick Rude. Holy shit, because I guess he was managing Bam and he couldn't bump at the time because he had that Lloyd's of London thing.
Right.
So I got to work with him, and then I was done. And it was like, earlier that day I did like a 2-hour workout with Benson Lee, so I was already wrestling all day. So I went in there and I did this, and I kind of was getting blown up towards the end. I said, "Hey, sorry I'm blowing up and everything." And he just went, "Hey, it's 110 degrees in here." He goes, "You're hired. You're working tonight. I just don't know who yet. Just stick around." And my eyes just I was like, "Holy shit, I got a job." He goes, "You're hired." That's exactly what Paul Heyman said to me.
Wow. Just like that. Boom.
Just like that, boom. And then Bam Bam wanted to work with me. And my legs were like spent, so I don't think the quality of the match was as good as it could have been if I wasn't like training all day before. You know what I mean? But I didn't make any excuses. I did it. I don't even think I had clean socks. I just had my boots on. I wasn't wearing socks. so I went ahead and did that. And I think I was supposed to go home that night, but since I worked, I went back. And Norm was in Florida, and he was coming back, and they were staying in an apartment in, I think it was on Stam Avenue, and it was in, I wanted to say Mount Oliver. I'm trying to remember where it was in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, outside of Pittsburgh, south side of Pittsburgh. They had an apartment. So so when Norm pulled in to the apartment, he saw that my car was there, and he knew I worked for him. He goes, "Yep, you worked for ECW?" I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Who'd you work?" I said, "Bam Bam." He goes, "How do you feel?" I said, "I'm fine. I'm just tired. I was just crashing for a little bit." And then I got up and, went back to home, went back to my work in my school, and just, I was easy for me at that time because in Western Pennsylvania, I was Beef Stew Lou, but at home, I was Lou Marconi. I worked and I went to school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I compartmentalized that pretty well. But the thing that I heard that Paul Heyman said about me was, at that time, I had the best babyface look since Mikey Whipwreck, and that got me my job. And I was there for 6 months, and I just finished up with, junior college, and I got an associate's degree, and I was transferring my credits to Cleveland State to get my bachelor's degree. And it was around 6 months afterwards, after I was there for a while, I just kind of said, hey, you know what? Because I sat with a guidance counselor, and I put together a plan where I could do 2 years of school in 18 months by going through the summer and taking one extra class a semester. That's really what I did.
Yeah, I understand that. Yep.
For some reason, I wanted to rush it, so I did. So I did it, and I made sure it happened, and I did it. And I didn't have to take out much in loans either. It was just some minor stuff because, one, I lived at home. My dad told me, he goes, why get an apartment? You're always at work. You're always on the road. You're never home. Why get an apartment and pay rent for a place you're never going to be? You got a roof. Just stay here. Just when we need you to help, you help out. That's what he told me.
Wow.
I was like, okay. And he said, but we're going to do this. You're going to finish school. You're going to graduate. And I said, absolutely. You got my word. So they said, because it'd be different if I was just playing video games all day in the basement. You know what I mean?
Right.
Versus I'm doing stuff. It made no sense. You save your money. So I did that, and I was able to buy a house when I was 30. So I was able to do that. But anyway, back to it. So because after that 6 months, I told Paulie, I said, yeah, I really appreciate this and everything. I'm going to finish school. I'm still going to work. I'm still going to wrestle, but I'm going to do a lot more closer shows. I just want to focus on graduating because it was more or less a promise I made to my parents. And so that worked. But my parents, I'll be honest with you, my parents thought I was absolutely nuts when I started training. They thought I was wasting my time.
That was going to be one of the questions down the line because we're getting all over, but that's fine. I like it like this. So we'll just jump on it.
Sure.
Why? Well, did they?
They thought, not that they didn't have faith in me, I don't know, but they just thought, you're crazy. What are you doing? Do you really want to do this? Seriously? But my parents my brother was telling me I was wasting my time. You're not going to get anywhere with this. You're not going to make any money. He's just like, it's all fake. It's all crap. It's not real wrestling. He had that mentality. Like he wouldn't have. So anyway, once that all changed when they saw me on TV.
Right.
Once they saw me on TV and they saw what I could do, they're like, all right.
30 years later, you have a hell of a career, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did. And they understood that. They just said once they saw it, they were like, that's when it hit them was like, he's actually doing this and he's doing pretty good. He's on national TV. He's wrestling the best in the business. He's putting in the work. They understood. And, and when I came home, I didn't act any different than what I did before. I really didn't. At home, I was different than when I was on the road or in the locker room. But it was a very it was an interesting experience to have that in your 20s and in the 90s. I mean, I almost thank God that social media wasn't around back then.
Right.
Or we didn't have cell phones and stuff like that, So, geez. But
we won't get into any of those stories. None of those stories on here.
No. Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. When I met my wife, and I met her 10 years ago, when we started dating. After we started dating, I saw the relationship was going well. I made sure to talk to her and explain to her stuff. And I told her about that. She knew I used to wrestle, but I told her, I said, hey, look, I gave her the number. I gave her the roster and the number of where it was. And she kind of was surprised because, she had nowhere near the experience I had when it came to that stuff. If anybody needs to know what I'm talking about, read between the lines.
Right.
I had a lot of fun. Okay. But one thing I will say this, I never made anybody do anything they didn't want to do. Okay.
There you go.
Never. Second, I was tested twice. I got tested twice just to make sure. Because that's the first thing she asked me. She said, have you ever been tested? I said, yes, twice, and I'm clean. She said, and you don't do that now? And I said, no, that's long past me. That was long past me. I don't want that. She said, okay. So she was cool with it. But I don't talk about it. You know what I mean? Out of respect, I don't talk about it all the time. But that's always something. Like you and I even talked before we started recording. I said, I don't want to go into details on stuff like that.
Yeah.
But,
and you're the one that brought it up, so I'm like, no.
Well, no, it's the truth. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, I'm just saying that. But yeah, my wife was very understanding about that. The thing is, I wasn't a saint. I don't claim to be a saint.
Right.
I'm not saying I wasn't, pure as the wind-driven snow. So I wasn't Ric Flair. Don't get me wrong.
Woo!
So.
It was the Attitude Era, right? We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, there was a lot of attitude, that's for sure.
So, you went from doing prelim, say, in the WWE, but then you would, swing around to the next city and you were a headliner. How does that take a toll, or is there a toll mentally on that at all, in your head?
No. I was working.
Okay.
I was working. I didn't care where I was at on the card. I didn't care if I had a belt. I didn't care if it was weird. When I first started out, I had a list of things I wanted to do, that I wanted to accomplish, because I remember, Charlie was very good and incisive about how do you measure your success? How do you know you're going to be successful? And, do you have to main event every match? Do you have to main event WrestleMania? There's only one every year. You know what I mean? There's only 35 or 40 wrestling main events. WrestleMania main events. If you never made it to a WrestleMania, does that mean you didn't make it in the business? You know what I mean? It's
right.
It's like saying, Dan Fouts he wasn't a Hall of Fame quarterback because he never played in a Super Bowl. I mean, it's kind of really, you know what I mean? It's something like, just to use that analogy. I'm not comparing myself to Dan Fouts, but you know what I'm saying.
Barry Horowitz said it the same way. He's like, there's not more than one main event every night. He's like, I knew I was working no matter what.
Yes. Yeah, it was work to me. So I said, okay, I understand where I'm at in the card. I understand what I can and can't do. I understand my place. Okay, that's what it was. When I was in the main event, I was free to. I liked it because I was open to do more stuff and open up and really put on a great show, because that's what I was there for, versus being in a preliminary and helping build up to that main event. So that's fine. I did my job. I looked at it as doing my job. So no, there was no ego involved with me. Not with me. I mean, Norm. If you talk to Norm or maybe other people that might, at the time I had an ego, yes, I did. One, I had an ego because I was working a lot and I was being fed it a lot, but I didn't have the ego in the sense that I was too good to put people over or I need to main event every show. I had the ego because I knew I was good. I was good and I knew it. That was my ego. And, I had my pick. I had my pick of rats, if you want to put it that way too.
Okay.
But I mean, that's just the best way to put it. But that if you're young and you're in your 20s, that's going to feed your ego. I don't care who you are.
Without a doubt, even a garbage man. Trust me. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It would. Even if it's Duke Drosy out there. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I love Duke. So, but that's the point. And that's a great question though, because no, you like, if I'm not the star, I'm not coming. Fuck you. No, I would do that. We're all trying to sell tickets. We're all trying to do this. I just had a different role. It was to me, it was like playing. It was like if you're an actor and you're playing different parts in a movie. That's all. I mean, I just looked at it that way, and I looked at it like, hey, I'm wrestling. You know, I'm working. I'm doing what I wanted to do. Back to what I was saying before, what Charlie said when I was wondering about what he goes, well, Charlie's like, well, what makes you think? Because there was an interview on a wrestling radio show. I can't even remember it that I was listening to when I first started training. And I was with Gordon Soley.
Oh God, I don't even remember.
This was 93.
Right.
Gordon Soley said this, and it stuck with me. He said 95% of the guys that start training don't make it. That's what he said. 95% don't make it. Now, I talked to Charlie about this. So what do you have to say? He goes, well, that's probably WWF or WCW. That's what was there. You know, it's like, I was like, well, okay. He goes, but there's so many other places you could work. Back then there was, you know, you want to go to Japan?
Right.
Do you want to go to, do you want to go to Memphis? Do you want to go here? Do you want to go there? He's like, do you want to work here? What is your idea of success? What do you want to do to be successful in this? What would make you feel like you succeeded? And I was thinking, like, okay, let me think about that. And I actually put a list together where I wanted to wrestle in Japan, I wanted to wrestle for the WWF, and I figured I wanted to win a title. That was it.
Just one title? Any title?
Any title. Just wanted to win a belt. I said that to me shows that I did something. But it was dumb. It was dumb because it's a work, but
still, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I was just starting out. I told him. He said, okay. He said, yeah. And I did 2 out of those 3. Honestly, I did. I mean, I didn't go to Japan. I came very close to going to Japan. That was back when I was with the NWA, and I was one of their top singles guys. And just to tell the quick story, this was like 2014, 2015, where Damian Wayne and Lance Erickson were doing the tag team thing.
Okay.
And they had all these tag team titles from all over the place, and they were supposed to go to Japan and go over for the NWA World Tag Team titles against Tenzan and Kojima in Japan. They were supposed to go over.
Wow.
Something happened. I think happened with Lance Erickson's passport, and he wasn't completely upfront with them about it. But you'd have to ask Rocky about that, the whole story. But this is what I heard. And Jax told me this later, that they were gonna call me up because they knew I had a passport and I was ready to travel. I would have left the next day if they flew me out to Japan. And they said we were gonna have you and Damian go out there and do it. I would have had a chance to go to Japan and win the tag titles with Damian Wayne. We would have worked it out. We would have figured it out. But I would have been happy to do it. But the problem was it was the New Japan Wrestling was so ticked by the waiting and the delays. They just said forget it. By that time,
they just scrapped the whole idea.
They scrapped the whole thing because I think Lance. Well, I can understand. Lance was on probation, and he was trying to figure out a way to get his passport. But when you're on probation, you can't get a passport.
Right.
So he wasn't up front, but he didn't want to miss the opportunity. He was trying to figure out a way. Well, you know, Bruce Tharp, the NWA president at the time, was a defense attorney. He might have figured out a way to help him. You know. It would have if he'd have been up front. He might have been able to help him. But he was afraid that he was going to miss out on the opportunity. So I understand why he did what he did. You know, I understand that completely. So, you know, and I like Lance. I like Lance a lot. I mean, and I like Damian too. But you know, it was just a chance. It's like,
damn it.
Yeah. So I heard that. So that was from Jax Dane himself. So Jax wouldn't have lied to me about that. And I like Jax. I really do. I mean, like I said, I have no heat with anybody. But that when I first started out, that was my short list at any title. So and you look at what I've done. I've won
a lot of titles.
A lot of them. Probably the most prestigious one would be the NWA National Belt, I would say.
That was my next spot. Since you brought up Jax,
okay,
you lost that title to Jax Dane, who we've had on the show, a great friend of the Can Crushers. Talk about working with Jax, just because we know his past and we know the type of human being he is. Just talk about anything about Jax, because we literally love him.
Did you talk to him about this already?
We have not talked to him about working with you.
Okay. Let me explain to you where it was, and I purposely did this to make sure he got over strong, because it was like a quick match, if you remember.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
I saw it. Yep.
It was It was kind of like Honky Tonk Man Ultimate Warrior thing.
Yeah.
What I did the week before, I was in North Carolina, and I was wrestling a guy. I think his name was Bo Crockett. And there's a spot I like to do when I have a headlock, and he takes my waist and he tries to throw me, or he throws me. Well, the problem was my leg wasn't cleared from his leg when he took my waist and he went to go throw me, and I did the splits.
Oh.
I tore my groin, like second spot in the match.
Oh.
So I tore my groin, and we got through the match. We got through the match and everything, and it was just my whole inside of my leg was black when I got there, and that was a week later. And I got there, and they were like, "Yeah, we want you to put him over fast and strong." I should see my leg. I don't have a problem with it. I said, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it. And Jax was like, he felt like really bad by having them there. I said, no, look at my leg. I got to. I said I was going to tell you that because I knew I was dropping the belt like I think a month or two before to him that night. I knew I was going to. So one other thing was going on too. My wife was pregnant with our first.
Oh.
So that was around the time of the first trimester. I was ready to drop it. I wanted to take time off. I wanted to heal my leg. It took me over a year to get over that because I stopped wrestling at that point because it really screwed me up. Because especially as you get older, those injuries just they do that. And the thing is, Bo Crockett, I don't feel bad. I mean, he wasn't trying to hurt me. It was just an accident that happens. And so don't I don't want anybody to misunderstand thinking I was saying this about the guy. But back to it. So I had a torn groin. The whole inside of my leg was black. We went out there, but there was one other thing that was going on for Jax because I saw it on Facebook after I got off the plane in Nashville, where his mother passed away that day.
Yeah.
And I went to the show. I didn't know if he was going to be there, and he was. And I asked him how he was doing, and he said she had a long battle with cancer. It was one of those things. I think I can't speak for him, but the way I read his face was she's no longer in pain. He was relieved of that because she had a really long terminal illness for the longest time, and I knew it was an emotional day for him. So I knew it was. And so the thing was, after I put him over strong and everything else, I hugged him. I gave him the belt. I said, it's your title now. You take it and run with it. I got a letter from Bruce Tharpe with money thanking me for what I did with the belt the next day. So I still have that letter in my office, in my home office. I kept it. And
nice.
And I have a replica of the NWA title belt too, the national title belt. I think that's one you'd want to keep a replica of. If you
that would be one you want.
Yeah, that's the one I have a couple belts actually. Another one I have is the NWA Eastern States belt, and that one's signed by Harley Race. So Harley Race signed it the night I won it.
Wow.
I mean, hey, I was number one contender for the NWA World Title when Rob Conley was champion. I mean, they were talking about it, but I don't know what they were going to do with it, if they were going to do anything with me and Rob. But yeah. So we were talking about that night. So it was a perfect thing to do, and it just happened that way. Some people are kind of like, man, I thought that was disrespectful the way they had you get squashed. I said, I couldn't barely walk. Are you kidding me?
I wanted squashed.
I wanted it. I didn't care. Well, it wouldn't have mattered. But the thing, you know what I would have done? You know what would have killed it if I would have done this? If I would have took pictures of my leg, posted it on Facebook saying, this is what I had with me when I came into the ring.
Right.
That would have made him look like shit.
Right.
Right?
I agree. And they do it now, and that pisses me off. Look at my black eye. I can't see this. Look at my big toe. Stop putting shit on Instagram and Facebook. I want to still be a mark.
Yeah, I didn't do it. If you watch the match, we did very little. He goes, what can you do? And I said, well, I'll take the spear from you and put you over. I'll choke you a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. You reverse, spear me, bam. Take it home. That's what we did. And, Jax and I were, I still consider him a friend. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I know we disagree on some stuff politically, but that doesn't mean shit to me. We could disagree on politics. I'm still your friend.
Right.
That's not a big deal to me at all. I mean, that's fine. You're free to think and vote for whoever you want to. It's a free country.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Let's talk about the NWA a little bit with a bounce back. Have you watched NWA Power the last 2 weeks at all? Are you a big... I don't want to say are you a big wrestling fan. Are you watching anything today, and have you watched NWA?
to be honest with you, I haven't watched NWA. I watched some I watched not the whole show. I watched matches. I watched Tim Storm and Nick Aldis, and I loved it. I love the feel of that studio back at the TBS Superstation.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. And I love it. Back because I tell you what, this is an interesting time now for wrestling. And I'm going to tell you why. Because for the last decade and a half, or 2 decades almost, we've been force-fed this bullshit sports entertainment. And I hope Vince McMahon hears me when I say this.
I hope he does too.
It's bullshit sports entertainment. All right. You have what you have now, and you could tell the audience was hungry for this, because when AEW came out, they wanted it, something different, another product to watch, to entertain us. Now you have the NWA. Billy Corgan took it over from Bruce Tharpe. Billy Corgan, I give him all the credit in the world. He's doing something with it. Bruce Tharpe did too. Bruce Tharpe really helped out a lot. He took the time to go to shows and go to other of affiliates, NWA affiliates. That's how him and I met. We rode in a car together. So, all the respect in the world for Bruce Tharpe as well, and Tony Brooklyn and all the guys that I worked with there. So, James Beard is one of the best referees I ever had. He's fantastic. So my thing with that, everything that I was saying about that is that I think right now it's really good, because the NWA gives you something like, hey, here's chocolate, here's vanilla, here's strawberry. What do you like? You know what I mean? That's what wrestling needs. It needs different varieties of styles. That's why in the territory days, you can watch Crockett, you can watch World Class, you can watch Georgia, you can watch Florida, you can watch McMahon Senior in New York. There's so many. You can watch Vern up in Minnesota. There's all these different products and different styles that was like, wow, this is cool. You know what I mean? And that's all went away, and you just had that. You just had one WWE, that style. And it was just like, damn it, this sucks.
And it does.
Yeah. So you probably heard the same thing from everybody else you talked to. I said the same thing. You hear something different now. So I'm excited for the guys now that there's places for them to work, and they're doing things like that. That's really good. So
my question now is, everybody says the Attitude Era, the Monday Night War is the greatest time in professional wrestling. We're old school on Can Crushers. We say the territories were the best thing. And we're shifting back into that now, because I will throw out some indie brands as I do my air quotes. You have IWC, which is huge in Pittsburgh. No disrespect. You have OBW in Kentucky, which is running a gamut. Mm-hmm. They're all places to work. Vince isn't just sitting around with his thumb on his ass, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. You got places you can work. Yeah, you Ring of Honor run shows, and they have a different style. They have that, constant high spot, move, go, go, go. I mean, there's that you have Ring of Honor, right?
Right.
I mean, that's another style that you can watch. I think there was one thing. I remember when I had the El Rey network on a cable provider when I was in North Carolina, was the
Lucha Underground?
Lucha Underground, yeah. That was different, too.
That was more of a show,
Yeah, it wasn't. Really
I wasn't
big. It was just a TV show. Yeah, it was just a TV show. But I was watching it, and it's just I kind of said, okay, let's check this out. Let's see what they do. You know what I mean? And it's different. Like I said, it was different. And I think really for me at the point in time, towards the end of my career, when I was like, I was 41, 42 years old when I won the NWA national belt. So.
Right.
What does that tell you? I mean, that was perfect for me, that old school, but it was different because I had to change my style, because I was doing the Carolinas chain wrestling style. When I got to Texas, it was more high speed, high bumps, boom, 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 boom. It was more lucha libre style. It was more faster. It was interesting because I worked Ray in Houston, and Ray's like, trust me, we're going to do it this way. And I'm like, all right. So, and that's what, yeah. So it was fun.
Let's talk about one other person you worked with, and if I don't, I'll probably get a text or a phone call. You actually worked a couple matches with Al Snow. How was that?
Oh, learning.
I have not seen them, by the way, so I don't know anything.
No. I wrestled him twice in ECW's back-to-back nights. The first one was a Friday night, and that was in it was a rink. It was like a hockey rink. I'm trying to remember where it was. It was a huge. It was a big room. It was the Ice House or something like that. It was called.
Was it in Pittsburgh?
Yes, it was outside of Pittsburgh.
Might be the Ice House or the Ice Arena. I know where you mean now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that was in 1997, and we had a good match. The way I worked with Al, the way Al was then, he just liked to do a bunch of stuff and go. And so I kind of kept. It was hard for me to keep up with him because I was still green. I was still relatively green at the time, and he was just so many levels. I mean, I'm 4 years in the business, and he's 15 years in the business, so he was like so many levels higher than me. And we had good matches. And then I said the next night I was more relaxed. And it went a lot better. We were in Beaver Falls High School, and it was, and we had a much better match, and it went really good. So it was one of those things when you first work with somebody that you kind of learn from it, and then you do better the next time. And I kind of said, Al, let's simplify this a little bit. This works better for me. Slow down, damn it. I can't remember all this shit. Who knows how many concussions I had by that point. So I just kind of went. He simplified it. We played to each other's strengths. We had a better match. I was a lot more relaxed too because it was like I was a wreck when I first went out there, which never happened. I got nervous all the time, and towards the end of my career, when I stopped getting nervous, I got worried because that means you stop. That means maybe you should get out. If you stop getting nervous before matches, maybe you need to get out of it. So, but anyway, yeah, that one I was like, that was good. But yeah, Al and I mean, I consider Al a great friend. I consider him a great man. He knows so much that he'll forget more than I'll ever know. I mean, he has so much experience in the guys. I mean, he worked Bruiser Brody. He tells that story. I love his interviews and stuff that he talks about, and it's awesome.
I had the chance over the summer to go down and sit in some of his classes and do some of the stuff for the combine that they did. And he's got the kids, air quotes, kids in the ring, and he says, all right, break time. And not like break time to go have lunch or anything. He's giving them 5 minutes just to stand around and catch their breath. And then he just starts regurgitating stories. And these kids, you see their eyes just like, holy shit. They're learning more from a story from actually anything they're doing in the ring because this guy is Lanny Poffo all over. He's literally a genius.
Oh, he is. Oh, absolutely. He's trained some of the best. I'll tell you what, one of the guys he trained that I had my best matches with was Reckless Youth.
Wow. Oh, no, did you hang up? Lou?
I'm here.
Okay. You're bailing out a little bit though.
No, I moved in my house.
Oh.
I'm walking around. I have my earphones on. Hang on, let's try this. All right, I'm gonna go on speaker. We're on speaker.
Okay, I'll be good.
No, that's fine. It's fine. I'm actually outside of my house now, but go ahead.
Okay.
No barking, Archie. My dog's out here with me. I just got my dog. He was bothering me to go out, so that's
okay.
He had to go outside, so I didn't want to have to clean up a mess. But yeah, Reckless Youth. If you look it up, it was March of 1998. It was me, Reckless Youth, and Christian York. It was a three-way dance. We went like a half hour, and that was probably the best match of my career. And I'm sure somebody's got the tape somewhere. But that one, yeah, and that was one of Al Snow's students.
Wow.
And again, he was one of the best. I swear to God, I will talk him up anybody I got in the ring with. I mean, I could have had a match with him in my sleep. It was just like, and that was at the time when maybe I was starting to hit my stride, but I really wasn't until like my late 20s. And yeah, things changed at that point. But hold on. All right, hang on a second. All right, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, I know. Just looking at the time. Just keeping an eye on the time. Go on.
Okay. You're fine. You're fine. A couple more questions as we. One, I've seen that you've been in a short film. Everybody Wants Her Dead. What is this about?
Okay, that was a friend of mine. Her name was Robbie. Barnes is her maiden name, but now it's Cricketies is her married name. She just got married. She was an actress, and they were shooting this independent black and white film where I played a zombie.
So you ate somebody?
No, I just walked around. I walked around. I had makeup on. It was like freezing cold outside. It was in winter. This was just before I moved to North Carolina. I had a hood on, and I had like a backwards hat, and I had like makeup on, and I had like chocolate syrup dripping from my mouth. But in black and white, it looks like blood. And it was really cool. So I got to play a zombie. Yeah, I did that as a favor for a friend.
Is it available for anybody to watch out there anyplace?
I think if you Google it, or if one of my Facebook friends is Robbie Cricketies, she might have it.
Nice. I'm clearly looking into this now because this actually just popped up today when I was doing some last minute things. I'm like, holy shit, he's in a movie. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was funny because one time I was on a webinar. This is hilarious. This was funny. For Progressive, because I run the sales territory for them, and we were showing a presentation to agents. And I guess when you have for travel trailers, when you have toy haulers, they say if you want to make sure you know it's a toy hauler, it has the name of a professional wrestler. And by the way, one of our sales reps was a wrestler. His name's Lou Marconi. He had a picture of me walking to the ring wearing a belt, and I had my singlet on and everything. And I'm in the webinar, and I didn't say anything, but I was able to instant message who is the person? The person running it and running the whole thing was I forgot what the name they used it for. The administrator.
Okay.
And all I said to her, I directly messaged her and said, "Well, I guess it's a good thing I wasn't a stripper." And she just sent me back a smiley face. She thought that was hilarious. She thought that would have been really bad.
Yeah.
So that would have been like a Magic Mike moment. But but yeah. So that was that. So yeah. So it was pretty. Being in a movie, it was just an opportunity. There was another one where Frank and I played FBI agents. One of her movies we did. I can't remember what it was called, but it was kind of put together, spliced it together, and it was just I'm trying to remember that when the girl, they did something where she was. She cut the baby out of the dead woman's womb and kept the baby herself. It was just a horror movie. I forgot what it was called.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And we were the FBI agents arresting her at the end of the movie. So.
Okay. All right. Well, this has become a train wreck. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
No. That's crazy. No, the movies that your friends put together. It's okay. So you brought up concussions, and let's not beat around the bush or anything. You've had many of them, and you were actually attached to the lawsuit with the WWE, and it's been huge news across the world. What can't you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that?
All I know is that it's in appeals right now, and I haven't talked to Bill Kairos in a while. I was actually meaning to reach out to him soon. I had the whole deposition. It was a federal court judge. He dismissed the case because I think he said it was past the statute of limitations, which doesn't make sense. And all he said was, "Fear not, I'm appealing this, and we're going to win on appeals." That's what he said to me. I think the problem because he's the same lawyer that got the money from the NFL. Okay. NFL is different because I don't think people really outside of the wrestling business itself, they don't really know how to look at this. Is it a sport? Is it entertainment? Is it sports entertainment? You know what I mean? What kind of wellness policy do you have? And I try to explain to people, I said, look, you're an independent contractor, okay? You're responsible for your health insurance. You're responsible for your transportation. You're responsible for your hotel. You have to be there when they tell you to be there. You don't leave until they tell you to leave. You wrestle who they tell you to wrestle and how you're going to wrestle. But yet you're an independent contractor. So, and they don't pay health insurance. So that's the big thing. That's the big issue right now is how they get around labor laws because they consider you an independent contractor. So I personally will tell you why I put my name on it. Okay. I'm not trying to get rich quick. I'm not trying to get $1 million from McMahon. I'm not trying to do that. What I want is something set up for a lot of the old timers that are living on food stamps and trailers right now that gave their body and their life for this business. And they deserve to be taken care of. That's why I did it. I don't want any of it. I don't want any of it. I'm fine. I mean, not that I'm fine. I'm just saying I'm not trying to get rich. I don't need it that way. I'm talking about there's a trust or some sort of a pension for these guys. Let's set it up. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I want.
Right.
That's what I want.
It's piggybacking off of the Cauliflower Alley Club, kind of helping,
Right.
people like Kamala that are in bad shape.
Marty
Jannetty. Yeah, the list can go on.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the whole thing. It's just they gave up their bodies, and now there's nothing, and it's on to the the next young thing and the next young guy. And I'll tell you right now. I mean, I have prescription medication from a neurologist. I've had my MRIs done, and I've had all the testing done. And I see a neurologist once a year. I see a dermatologist once a year, and I see a general physician once a year because I want to make sure I have my health. And I'm 46 now. I want to live at least until I'm 76 years old. And that sounds crazy, but how many wrestlers live into their 70s?
Right.
How many do? So, the one thing my doctor said that, I'm in really good health right now. I am. I basically changed my diet. I got my exercise routine going. I'm making sure I take care of myself. And a lot of it is like the nortriptyline, the prescription medications working wonders for me because I used to forget stuff all the time. I developed a habit as it got worse that if I needed to do something, I did it right away because I'm not going to remember it. If I had to, I wrote it down. I set a way to remind myself. So, smartphones are wonderful. Set a reminder. I do it, or else I forget. I told my wife, my keys have to be here. My wallet has to be here because if it's not there, I'm not going to know where it's at. It's as simple as that. That's what it is, and it's just like so. I know where everything is. I have a place for everything. I'm not. What would be the word?
OCD.
OCD. No. It's just if not, OCD. Perfect. It's because of that, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. And I wish I didn't do that stuff. Not that I wish I didn't wrestle, but I wish I didn't do the craziness that I did. Even though I look back on it, I'm like, wow, man, I did that.
And you wouldn't change it if you had the opportunity to change it, would you?
No. I do it. I do it again. Absolutely. I wouldn't change anything. If anything, I talked to Norm. I talked to Norm maybe 2 years ago, and I just remember him telling me before I started to work for PWX, because Lou, do me a favor, don't go in there with an ego. And I never thought I had that ego, but I went in there, knowing I was better than a lot of those guys. And whether I rubbed them the wrong way because of it, I don't know. But I always said, hey, I that's not how I was. I told them, I mean, if I see them today, I treat them like they're my brothers. So, it's just, I was told for so many years, for so long, that I was this guy. I was really good. And I was, but, no, the only guy that I thought was a jerk, was a total prick, was Shawn Michaels, because he'd walk by you as if you weren't even there. Went and talked. That was the days of the clique. You know what I mean? It was him and Triple H. And Triple H was always cool. He seemed okay. But yeah, nobody, just at that time, but since then he's changed. You know what I mean? He's right. He found God. He's changed. And I wish him the best. Because I think we all can kind of look at ourselves in our 20s. I told my wife, I said, if you probably met me at 25, you wouldn't have liked me at all.
Lou, do you ever get the itch to get back in as a promoter or manager, or even get in the ring one more time?
Honestly, no.
Nothing. Not even. Do you go to events?
No, I haven't. The last time I got together with wrestlers was Dave Kreiner's funeral, which was Thunder Morgan. I was at his funeral, and somebody there asked me, because we were getting food afterwards, and they said, you want to get back in the ring? I said, really, not right now. Maybe when my girls get older, because they're 4 and 2, maybe, which I thought it would be kind of cool. I was talking to my wife about it. I said, well, what do you think? I won belts in my 40s, 30s, and 20s. Wouldn't it be cool if I won one in my 50s? She kind of gave me this look like, oh, Jesus. So
I have to deal with that just a little bit longer, right?
No, it's just fine. I'm just making sure my kids are taken care of first, and then if it doesn't interfere with me being a dad, then maybe, but not anytime in the near future.
Nice. Lou, I want to thank you for coming on. And first of all, you had to reschedule because prior issues happening on my end. Thank you for that. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for giving all this time today.
Sure.
We'll reach back out to you. There's more stories. I mean, the Mark Marrows, the Head Shrinkers, the Axel Ross. I mean, we could have a part 2 down the line in about 6 months or so and just talk.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We could anytime you want to talk. Yeah. And I did, I kind of bounced around a lot, but it was just like, hey, you asked me about the NWA and Jax Dane, and and I have no bitterness. No, actually, we could even talk more in depth about the feud that I had with Phil Monahan for that belt.
Right.
So I mean, that was a pretty darn good feud. I had fun with that. So yeah, anytime, man. We'll just reach out to me, and I mean, hopefully I'll have better headphones, because I just finally took the headphones out and said the hell with it. I think it was the headphones that were hanging up.
Right.
Ever since, this is a relatively new phone and headphones, because I got this in June. It's an XR, and since I did the iPhone update software, the headphones have been working weird on me. You know what I mean? The earbuds.
Yes.
I'm talking how they've been acting weird on me. Like it'll stop a video, or when I'm listening to a YouTube clip or watching a YouTube clip, it'll just stop it, and I didn't do anything. I'm like, really? What's going on?
Oh shit! I thought that was just, honestly, I have the 8 and I have black web headphones, and I thought, all right, something's just not working together here or there. It's just really sucking. So I thought it was just my phone. Oh, I'm glad it's yours too then.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's fine. And no, I appreciate the time. It's nice to go over these memories. And to be honest with you, anybody, I'll tell you, I don't have a negative thing to say about anybody in the business except for Shawn Michaels at that time. But now he's a changed man, and he probably would, if he was sitting here with me right now, he'd probably be nodding and say, "Yeah, I was a prick." He probably would say it. So
Nice.
But I was the only one that felt that way. And there's so many other stories and so many other people I've worked with, and I made so many friends. I had such a blast doing it. I don't regret it. No, I don't regret it. And the thing is, the whole reason why I put my name on the lawsuit was to set up the other guys. It wasn't me trying to get rich. I want that point to be made very clear. So,
right.
I want the other guys to get taken care of. Okay. But all right, Mark, anytime, brother. Thank you. And hey, hopefully we'll do this again soon.
From seeing this guy in the ring in St. Mary's, Pennsylvania in 1994 to having him on Can Crushers in 2019, Lou Marconi has been nothing but amazing. He has been awesome. The time that he gave to Can Crushers, I'm elated with. I really am. He laughed at the big intro that I gave him, and that was definitely for him. I've been on Facebook, following him on Facebook for a while. I said, this has been a connection since 94, just following his path and everything. It was great. And guys, listen to the very last point that he makes. He just wants to help others be set up down the line. That's what the lawsuit is about on his point. Reiterate that. He's not trying to make $1 million. And he's a firm believer in something that we support wholeheartedly now too, the Cauliflower Alley Club. Guys, make sure you check that out. CauliflowerAlleyClub.org. You've heard it from B. Brian. You've heard it from Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. And now you've heard it from Lou Marconi. Guys, help out the wrestlers that have entertained the MF in hell out of all of us through our years. Help them out. And Lou, again, thank you for coming on the show. And I cannot wait to reach back out to you to hear more stories. And yes, the NWA story is a teaser, folks. If you need to look into it before we talk to Lou again here, I'm not going to say near future, but in the future, do some history about that. Do some digging and know how that feud went down. It was amazing. It's great. So, again, if you know anybody that wants to be on Can Crushers to talk and relive wrestling with us nerds behind this microphone, send them over to cancrusher69@gmail.com, and we'll reach out to them. Whatever, however you guys want us to make sure that you guys get to hear stories from wrestling heroes of today, past, whatever. We're here, and that's what we like to do. So, just remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things. It's called a garbage can, not a garbage cannot. See you guys Sunday.